It looks like Xbox has outplayed PlayStation when it comes to console manufacturing. There is a new poll suggesting that a large amount of people will want to sign up to Xbox Game Pass once Activision games come on to the service. And there is a major feature that seemingly won't be available on the PlayStation 5. So over the last 2 months or so, we have seen Xbox beating PlayStation 5 in terms of sales. Now, the major reason people say this is happening is just because of the console availability. Xbox having a much better time getting chips and being able to create the Xbox Series X, and as people are going into stores, they're able to find them, they're more available online, and that will naturally increase the sales of your console over the competitor if the competitor's console is just not available. Now, there is that, but there's also just the fact that the Series X and S are great consoles, and they've done a great job this generation, just having a huge, big step up from the Xbox One, really turning around everything that was a failure from the Xbox One. But when it comes to the stock specifically, how is Xbox being able to produce more than the PlayStation 5? You think to yourself, Xbox's strategy isn't just to push console sales. They have that ecosystem and they want to get people into that ecosystem no matter what, like no matter where they play. That's their main goal. Selling consoles isn't their number one priority, but it is definitely just another avenue into the ecosystem. So if they can produce more of these consoles and get people to purchase them to sign up to Xbox Game Pass, that is something they're going to really focus on as well. Hey guys, just before we continue, if you are enjoying what you're seeing throughout this video, please consider hitting that subscribe button and really trying to grow this channel and this community so we can just have great conversations about what is going on in the video game industry. So there is this rumor that has been spreading around, and it is that Microsoft has actually paid for chip priority to increase the Xbox Series X and S stock. And this comes via the Xbox Era podcast, where I believe it was Special Nick who said this, saying, around April last year, I got a DM saying Microsoft's going to have a lot of consoles available this fall. And they did in the end, didn't they? Microsoft paid for chip priority at the factories, which is why we saw so much more, and we are still seeing so much more Xbox stock now. To me, it's a smart investment. Now, this has caused a big discussion, a big conversation on the internet, on social media. Is this dirty business? Is Xbox doing something that they shouldn't be doing here? Are they just really using their power and money to get the advantage over the PlayStation 5 and the rest of the console market? And first of all, I would say definitely not dirty business. This is an actually extremely smart move, an extremely smart investment where we know there's a chip shortage. You know, Sony and PlayStation have pigeonholed themselves into pushing their console as the main way to get into their ecosystem. It's pretty much the only way to play their first-party games, which is the big seller for the PlayStation 5. So they know that PlayStation's stuck there, and if they can't produce their consoles, they're pretty much screwed. And Xbox, knowing, hey, they have more money than PlayStation, they know that their console is desirable. If they can get a leg up on the chip manufacturers, pay them a bit more money to get priority so that their consoles get manufactured more and first, they are going to really close that gap in terms of the difference in console sales. And on top of that, they're going to be able to push their ecosystem through the console avenue onto more people. So I think it's a very smart move. I think it is a very good investment, but let's see what social media has to say about this. So here's the article on Twitter, and you can see there is always this back and forth. This person saying, wait, I thought Microsoft doesn't care about selling consoles. And the response, very good response, they don't care where you play, but of course they also want to sell consoles. And that's the thing, like words are always getting twisted when people are talking about this in the terms that like, yes, Xbox obviously cares about selling console, but it's not the only thing that they think about and care about, where with the PlayStation 5, with the Nintendo Switch, it literally is the only thing they really think about and care about when they're trying to expand their market share. And to be fair, this guy comes on here and says that it was sarcasm. And yeah, I mean, probably was sarcasm. It's just hard to interpret words on Twitter. The person says, of course they did. That's what Microsoft does best, use their infinite money to buy their success. And you know what? I would argue that Microsoft has a ton of money. They don't always use it properly. They don't always spend it in the best ways that brings them success, but something like this is a very smart business investment. It isn't something that they're just throwing money everywhere. This is a very calculated and good move by Microsoft. The response is, yeah, Sony has never used their money for a shortcut. Remind me again, has Sony been working on their live service infrastructure for years, or did they just drop $4 billion on Bungie so they can catch up to Microsoft's live service infrastructure? And that's a great point, because there really isn't very much live service stuff coming out from Sony, and that's why they had to go out and get Bungie to kind of close that gap with what Microsoft has right now. How about putting its money in good games and not nail polish or chip priority? If I can't make good games, I'll just throw money to keep up. And again, you know, these types of arguments, they're just dead right now. They have absolutely no weight, especially after what we've seen in the past year, which this person does a great job of pointing out the most obvious thing of all. Who was the 2022 or the 2021 Game Publisher of the Year with the highest ever average score on Metacritic? It was Microsoft. Metacritic is the thing that people from PlayStation love to throw out there with their games, because they generally get very high scores. But hey, in 2021, look who has an 87.4 average. There's no denying it. Those are literally the facts of the matter. Now, VG charts make sense. The good guy Phil is playing dirty. Under fair circumstances, the PS5 would never sell less than the Xbox. It is extremely fair what Phil Spencer is doing by taking these business moves. That is literally what business is. If you're not in the game to win in business, you might as well not be in it at all. All in all, you can see the difference of opinions here. Some people think it's dirty business. Some people think it's don't. But like I said, this is a great move if this is true. Now, Special Nick did report this on the Xbox Era podcast, but I guess it's still being circulated as a rumor. But very, very smart move by Phil Spencer and the guys at Xbox for 2022. I'm assuming this is going to last throughout pretty much the entire year. It'll be very interesting to see what the MPD results are, the official results, when they get released for March. All right, moving on to this interesting information we have, and it has to do with Activision Blizzard and the Microsoft deal. As we know, that deal right now currently is in progress of being finalized, but there was some polls that went out from YouGov or business.yougov.com asking users, could the Microsoft Activision deal bring them over to Xbox Game Pass? Now, to be completely transparent, these polls were conducted with 1,200 US adults and 1,200 British adults on January 19th, 2022. And they are weighted on age, gender, education, political affiliation, ethnicity, region, social grade, and the results are nationally representative of adults in both the United States and Great Britain, and there is a margin of error of 2.8%. Well, I think that's always important to point out whenever you see these types of polls, whether it's about politics, whether it's about video games, whether it's about anything else. You really got to go down and just see the methodology that's used, because they can definitely not fully represent the entire picture, but it's good that they do point it out down there. Now, what this poll does is it talks about the percentage of gamers, like they say, who would consider moving over to Xbox Game Pass depending on what games come over to the service when the Activision Blizzard is complete. We have this first one here saying that 19% of US gamers say the Call of Duty franchise would most make them consider subscribing to Xbox Game Pass compared to other Activision titles. I mean, that isn't surprising at all. Call of Duty is like the most popular video game out there, and that's going to be the one that brings the most people over. I keep thinking about what Xbox is going to be able to do once this deal is finalized when it comes to like marketing, and it's going to be absolutely wild, especially with the Xbox Series S. Every year they can start, or whenever the new Call of Duty comes out, they can start marketing that console with Call of Duty all over the box, 120 frames per second, because we know that that game does reach that even on the Xbox Series S. So, I mean, it's pretty impressive what they're going to be able to do with that. And Call of Duty alone is just going to draw over tons and tons of people to Xbox and to Xbox Game Pass. And obviously it's represented here from this poll. In the UK, it was the same thing. Call of Duty is by far the game that will bring over the most people to Xbox Game Pass, with the 11% here, and then everything else pretty much significantly behind. Now, in terms of the overall population, this is where things get interesting. So they did another poll here asking gamers from PlayStation and gamers from Nintendo and even gamers from Xbox what would make them sign up to Xbox Game Pass, and they say here, if we combine the results of all the major Activision titles presented to respondents, we see 43% of Xbox gamers in the US and 48% in the UK would consider signing up for Xbox Game Pass if all titles were on the platform. Also of interest is the 46% of PlayStation gamers in the US and 29% in the UK who indicated interest in a Game Pass that includes major Activision titles, putting Microsoft in a strong position to carve up its main competitors' market. And then they say we see similar figures among the Nintendo fans, 46% in the US and 26% in the UK indicate interest. So that's huge. 46% is a very large number if you're extrapolating this out to the entire fan base of PlayStation and the entire fan base of Nintendo in both the United States and the UK. That's a large amount of people that will consider coming over to Xbox Game Pass, which I mean is absolutely no surprise with the titles that Xbox is going to be able to get with Activision Blizzard. It's not just Call of Duty. It's things like World of Warcraft. It's things like if they made a new StarCraft. It's Crash Bandicoot. It's Diablo. It's all of these styles of games that are just going to be ready to come onto Xbox Game Pass as soon as the deal is done. Now, in terms of the specific games they actually reference, they say here that the options presented to the respondents were Call of Duty, Crash Bandicoot, Guitar Hero, Skylanders, Spyro the Dragon, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, Diablo, Overwatch, StarCraft, and Warcraft, all just major titles. Now, of course, on the other side, you see a percentage of people that wouldn't go over, and there's just some people that have no interest in Activision Blizzard games, and this acquisition means nothing to them, but there's still a massive number. And we're going to see all of this play out once the deal goes through. I think we will see a big increase into Xbox and into Xbox Game Pass. And hopefully we do actually get those numbers for the difference between how much they were increasing their subscribers before the acquisition and how much they've increased after the acquisition. And finally, I want to talk about this. This is pretty interesting. I came across this from Blue Negroho on Twitter, and it's talking about VRS and VRS 2.0, and that apparently it seems like from this person's analysis that PlayStation 5 may not be able to support this. So they say here, PS5 officially declaring white flag as they need to use software VRS with similar solution for GCN PS4 also will be used for PS5 as it is since 2019 leaked as IP 10_00. 2 to 3 years later, all fact is proven. UE5 for PS5 won't have DX12 nanites plus VRS 2.0 plus VRCS, which demoed on the Xbox Series by Team X. Now, if you remember, this VRS, the variable rate shading update 2.0, had just huge advantages for Xbox, huge gains on games that were previously already great looking, but they were just able to look better and run better with less power being used or less strain on the Xbox with this new improved VRS 2.0. This is from back in February, where they showed it off, and they say here the improved VRS 2.0 can cut down execution times for various functions on both Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S. Doom Eternal and Gears 5, for example, saw a 33% boost to nanite performance in internal tests conducted on the Xbox Series X. And the new VRS 2.0 technology hence allowed the console to render complex on-screen objects quicker than before, and that too without affecting the final image quality. They also did some examples of in-game scenes featuring day and night cycles at 4K, and they saw that the Series X had a 45% on average boost during times of dawning dusk. And they say here the bottom line being that VRS 2.0 or whatever numeral the improved VRS received in the end can help games achieve better performance metrics on Xbox Series consoles, but with a marginal hit to visual quality. So this VRS 2.0 is going to be huge, especially when you think about the Xbox Series S being able to utilize this to get us better quality and better performance overall with the bigger next gen, current gen, whatever you want to say, games coming out in the future. Now, this person says it's not going to be available on PS5, and the proof that they have for this is this here, which is talking about Horizon Forbidden West. And they specifically say the use of compute shaders also provides extra flexibility that allows for the implementation of a software variable rate shading solution due to being able to run on the compute pipes on the PS4 and the PS5. Then they go off and show just some code I don't really fully understand, as well as they talk about here the nanite rendering going through and where VRS is. And what I'm taking away from this, what I'm understanding, is that the PlayStation 5 just doesn't have the hardware capabilities to run VRS 2.0, and they have to stick to the software, I guess, emulation of it. And it just isn't going to be able to have the same boost and the same effect that it will have on Xbox when VRS 2.0 is utilized. In fact, they continue on talking about this here, saying, yeah, I was in the Intel video. I previously talked about it. If I recall correctly, they mentioned something like 20% overall performance loss in the software emulation. The response is, yep, my focus is about accumulating many evidence of PS5 that can only use software VRS solution, as 99% people still think PS5 has VRS hardware features because they think PS5 is fully RDNA 2. Now, that's one thing from the launch of these consoles people were always debating, is the PS5 full RDNA 2? And I'm pretty sure it isn't. It's like a RDNA 1.5 is what people kind of landed on, whereas the Xbox Series X and S is full RDNA 2. Then they continue on saying, well, for me, id Software already put this one to bed when they implemented Tier 2 VRS in the Series X version of Doom Eternal, but couldn't do the same for the PS5 due to the hardware not being there. I guess people getting confused here, thinking they're talking about UE5 with it using Nanite and Lumen, but the response here is that's not what he meant. It won't have VRS 2.0. That's only available for Series S and X. VRS 2.0 gives a 33% performance increase on UE5. But yeah, I mean, I'll be completely honest, I don't fully understand all of this stuff, and going based off of this, I do understand that VRS 2.0 will have a big effect in just increasing the overall performance and not reducing visual fidelity. I think it will have the biggest effects for the Xbox Series S. I think that will be a huge factor in being able to keep that console for the long run of this generation, if they can really utilize a lot of the tools that are available to them with RDNA 2. But it will be a big hit to PS5 if this is not available, and then maybe this is what prompts Sony to make a PlayStation 5 Pro halfway through this generation. That's it for me, guys. What are your thoughts on Microsoft paying for chip priority? What do you think about that poll about seeing if people will transfer and sign up over to Xbox Game Pass? And what do you think about VRS 2.0? Do you think the PlayStation 5 will not support it, and will this give the Xbox a big advantage? If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button. If you're new here, you enjoyed what you saw, consider hitting that subscribe button. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support, and I'll catch you in the next video.